Jack Gleason travels the suburbs and around northern Illinois to watch high school boys basketball. And I'm figuring the count, when I looked at it, was like 574,322 games. Is that right, Jack?
I think you're exaggerating a little bit. I think it was just 571,000.
Okay. What'd the wife say when you head out the door Monday to go to the game?
Yeah, she's been around for a long time with me, so she knows, going back before we were even married, she knows what you got into.
Yeah, but what did she say, Jack?
What are we doing on New Year's Eve?
That's right. Yeah. There we go.
What are we doing on New Year's Day?
So see you in a few days.
There we go.
Right. We even have a social engagement tonight and tomorrow night. So
that a boy.
It's wonderful. She's my best friend since we were probably 16. So
nice.
We get along really well.
Nice.
So what did we see over the holidays here?
A lot of games. I went to 5 different places. What I learned and what I saw was that exactly what we talked about the Saturday before the season started, that there's it's a year of parity out there. With, I guess, one exception is what I've learned, and that's probably Morgan Park. And besides the last week seeing them play at Proviso West, I've seen them play 5 times this year, and they are really good. And that may be the one team that's broken through here and maybe one of those super teams. It'll be interesting to see as we go forward. Curie may be just a step behind them. I've only seen them play twice, so I'm not exactly sure where they're at right now. And then there's a whole group of maybe 10 teams behind that. But Morgan Park definitely seems to be the best. My travels, I went to Proviso West a handful of times. Went down to Pontiac for 2 days. Stopped by Hinsdale Central twice. I saw the semifinals at Wheeling. And then I was out at Jacobs for a couple quarterfinal games and for the final game at Jacobs. And actually, as I tweeted out that Saturday night, the final at Jacobs was one of the best games I've seen in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. The Jacobs-Boylan, or the Zion-Benton-Boylan game just was a spectacular game. The game was played at a really fast pace. Both of those teams play really hard. They moved the ball. It was physical, yet it wasn't out of control. I even tried to grab the 3 refs after the game to tell them what a fabulous job they did. It was 3 veteran guys that I've seen at the state tournament. But that was by far the best game I saw during the 2 weeks. The games at Pontiac were really good, the semifinals and the finals, but just a lot of fouls. The games moved slow. Sometimes when you take those city teams out of the city and you give them some different refs, things get a little messed up.
We're talking with Jack Gleason from hsbball.com. You're so diplomatic, Jack. That's what I like about you the most,
Want to talk about the weather situation?
That's right. Hey, yeah, let's talk about the weather. When you went out Monday, would you have blamed any school if they did decide not to go to a tournament? Let's say...
No. It was, and especially, I'm in the city, and it was pretty bad. I went out. I was actually at work Monday and went out for lunch, and I got about 5 minutes away from the office. I was like, what did I just do? I mean, it was so bad out there, even on the streets. So I can understand in the rural areas how bad it was. And I get it. I like Matt's suggestion about, so a team forfeits a game because they can't get there. Don't put it on the record. Don't give Winnebago a loss because they weren't able to get out there, or Genoa Kingston. So, but the offset to that is, 15 of the 16 teams did get there, or 23 of 24 at Plano, and the other side of the equation is I worry sometimes that where you don't want to teach the kids to take risk, you tell them there's a little mental toughness in the world too, and that so many times at these schools, the snow days, are cold days and snow days, and you're like, I can remember one last year where there was a day because it was too cold out, and I went out at lunchtime, and there were probably 200 kids in the park by my office, and I'm like, that's funny. They couldn't go to school today, but they're all out there playing.
Yeah, but the other thing is they probably would have had school off instead of going to a basketball game, wouldn't you think?
You're absolutely right. There's no way there would have been school that day.
Yeah.
And again, each school's got to make their own decision.
Right.
I can see getting to a Plano for Genoa Kingston or for Forreston was pretty impossible.
Yeah, I bet.
So I get it. I'm not.
You're a good guy, Jack.
a fun time. It's so interesting to see how the different tournaments do things. Obviously, Pontiac still remains to be, the best tournament to go to. I was trying to think of an analogy, and to some extent, I mean, on a much lesser terms, it's like the Green Bay Packers. If somebody said there's an NFL football team in Green Bay in a small town like that, you'd say, how can that be? And the same with Pontiac. You drive into a smaller town, and the quality of that tournament and the quality of the teams they draw and the way the townspeople come together to put that thing on is really fabulous.
They had a tough first day, though, didn't they?
They did with the electricity. And then, even going down there Thursday and New Year's Eve when they thought they would be done, I mean, the workers were, very polite and always make you feel welcome there, but you could just see the looks on their faces of, gee, we thought we would be done yesterday.
Yeah.
So it did cause havoc in their tournament, and it was always tough knowing, what games were when and so forth. But they just do a fabulous job. And Jacobs, too. I love going to Jacobs every year. Jacobs always has a good feel to it. They have a nice field, draw a decent crowd. There's so much going on there because they have the freshman and the sophomore tournament as well. But that's always a lot of fun to go to, same way.
You got to see Boylan play in that great game, as you said, and that's a team around here that a lot of people are starting to kind of get behind and think maybe has a chance to do something. They play 10 guys, get up and down the floor. What was your impression of them?
I loved them. They may be my favorite team this year, the teams I've seen. Just what you say, they get up and down the floor. They play so hard. He plays so many guys, and it really doesn't drop off when he goes to his bench. I think that would be a top 10 team in the Chicago area right now in the rankings. Definitely not beyond 15.
Yeah.
If they were here in the poll. Assuming their path in 3A is similar to Lutherans, I sure don't see why they would not be able to get down to Peoria. I was surprised they lost the first game at Pekin. I don't have any frame of reference on. I think they lost to Normal West.
Yeah, a couple points.
Consolation title. But no, that's a really good team and really fun to watch. Just really, really fun to watch.
They're going to be 3A this year, and isn't Morgan Park going to be 3A too?
Yeah, you've got some really strong teams in 3A. I mean, I can't see them. Again, I'm putting Morgan Park out in front of everybody else. I can't see them beating Morgan Park. And you've got Bogan. You've got some other really strong 3A teams as well. Fenwick's a 3A team. So that 3A is loaded this year, much more than 4A. But Boylan definitely has a chance to go far. And even Auburn, Auburn being a 4A school, I saw Auburn play at Hinsdale Central, and they were fun to watch. I saw Trevon Tyler go off for 36 points. I don't think I could see I know they played already once, the Auburn-Boylan game, but Boylan's obviously a better team than they are this year.
Well, and Auburn's issue is trying to get consistency behind Tyler. He's so good, but they don't have a lot of consistency behind him. When they get out there. So from night to night, you could get two different teams.
Right, I could see that, and you could see that in their scores. It's interesting when I talk about parity, and how do you define that? Well, obviously, I'm digging scores every single day for the website, and it's amazing. Usually I can look at games and tell you, 7 out of 10 times who's going to win, or 8 out of 10 times who's going to win. Now I look at scores and I'm like, how did that happen? Teams that I thought were good, and then they lose by 20 points, and it's just been very interesting that way. And it's really been confirmed here in the first 5 weeks of the season. And when you think about it, the season's really halfway over.
Yes, it is.
In days' time, it's not, but in games' time, it is. So it's been, pretty much what we thought. The player-wise, Charlie Moore from Morgan Park just has put on a show, with the exception of the one game I saw at Bogan where he got in foul trouble. He's put on a show every time. He was outstanding at Proviso West, really. But that whole team is just, the pieces fit together so well. In contrast to a team like Simeon, who's obviously one of the top teams, their pieces just, the last few years, just haven't fit together.
The recruiting's been down, Jack. They haven't been recruiting as good as they usually do.
Well, I'll tell you, Dave, your favorite subject. To a Morgan Park's key players. One played at Westinghouse last year. One is actually a junior who's on his third high school. Started out at Plainfield East, went to Hope Academy, and now is at Morgan Park Maywood Bins, and he's exactly what they needed. They had strong guard play, and he's a strong physical guy up front, and just fits in perfectly. But I got to give them credit for filling in the holes they need.
Right? Exactly. So you talk about the parity and some of the surprises with scores. Is there a team maybe you saw, over the holidays here that kind of surprised you, that maybe a little bit better than you thought?
I guess, trying to think through, the one team that probably did something that I didn't think they could do was York, winning the York tournament. And that's 32 teams, so they had to win 5 games. I, didn't have the star power that Proviso had, but it was a good tournament with solid teams in there. The one super team that was in there was Riverside Brookfield that lost. But yeah, York kind of surprised me. I had seen them early in the year against Bennett, and they're exactly like Bennett. 5 guys walk out, and I always use the gym class analogy so many times. If you were picking teams in gym class, those would have been the last 5 guys picked for the basketball game. Yet they just all, they're all in the right place every single time. They play hard. They can shoot well. So York surprised me a little bit in winning that tournament. But other than that, again, what I guess didn't surprise me was the parity in the teams that, that everybody seems so even this year, and that anybody can win on a given night.
A couple of tournaments had California teams, and I think the Proviso West had that big kid, the 7-foot kid. Did you get to see him play? Because I heard he's a real good one.
I did. I saw a quarter and a half of the game, and he was a good player. He's not overly aggressive. And then I did see a piece of the game, the California team that played at Hinsdale Central. They did end up winning the tournament. They were okay. I don't like the out-of-state teams coming to play in those tournaments, more so from a selfish standpoint, because I just don't have a frame of reference to know. I hear that they've won, 61 out of the last 64 state tournaments in that state, yet you don't know whether this is a down year for them. You don't know what the quality of the teams are in that state. So in Hinsdale Central, I stopped by there and watched the last quarter of the championship game, and they did a really nice job there trying to get that tournament off the ground, but there weren't 300 people in the gym watching.
What about Illinois teams going out of state? There was a few of those, too.
Well, I counted them up for you because I heard you refer to them earlier. There were 7 teams that went out of state. Actually, there were 9 teams. There were 9 teams that went to 8 different tournaments out of state. And that even... you get on your soapbox about transfers. I get on my soapbox about going out of state to play games. I just don't get it. I realize that in the city, it's been pointed out to me that those kids don't get a chance to travel. This is a unique experience for them. Most of the time, their expenses are covered. I got that. I get that. But some of these other teams, St. Viator going down to play in Naples, Florida. What's that all about? And we've got 375 teams here in the Chicago area. You can't find a game or a tournament that suits you. So I don't know. I just don't get that. Am I getting carried away?
No, it's funny when you think about it, too, that some of these tournaments here were apparently a big enough draw for a California school to come out. But why couldn't that have just been filled with one of those teams that was going out? Why couldn't they go to that tournament?
Right, exactly. And the other thing is I heard a comment, it actually was made to me twice during the 2 weeks, about the number of tournaments. Why are there so many tournaments? There's all these tournaments all over. Well, there's a lot of schools. And doesn't Christian Liberty get to play in a Christmas tournament?
Right.
Or Alden Hebron? So... There's fine. There's just enough tournaments for all the teams to play in. And let's not, discriminate against the schools that maybe aren't powers. They get to play in a Christmas tournament too. So I don't buy that there's too many tournaments.
Your wife probably would, but you don't. She must really love you, Jack, because I tell my wife, I'm sitting there going, Jack's at another tournament. He stays all day, 4 games.
And she is the nicest girl in the world.
That's good. Hey, Jack, we appreciate you coming on today. It's been a great time, and you were the perfect guest for us today.
Yeah, perfect.
I am always welcome, always happy to be on, so thank you very much for having me. I figured it would be a tough morning to get guests. I knew last Saturday was a bad day, too, the day after Christmas.
We knew Jack would do it, but you were perfect. I mean, I don't care if it was the middle of the January. You're perfect for what we needed today. So
anytime we need to talk basketball, you're perfect.
And it's
Thank you very much. And should be a fun year this year with Boylan.
Yeah, I think so.
hsbball.com, right?
Right.
And it's a good site. You can find everything you want. If Jack doesn't know it, nobody knows it. So we'll see you, Jack. And thanks again for the update, and Happy New Year to you.
Thanks. Happy New Year to you and to Matt. Take care.
Thank you.
We've been talking to Jack Gleason. He knows it, doesn't he?
Yeah, he saw just about everybody in the state, I think.
I tried to get him fired. When he gets fired up, he's the nicest guy, isn't he? Well, I want to get a little upset. I like Jack.
Yeah.
So we're going to take our final time out. We'll be back with more here on the Stateline Sports Hour here on News Talk 1440 WROK.
You already have your clock radio set